G'day, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. This is your host, Tommy Kendi, and I've changed the name of the podcast. So this is the first ever episode of the Tommy Kendi Unfiltered podcast. And have I got an epic guest for you on this incredible episode? I have Lydia Lassila. She is a Olympic champion, Olympic freestyle skier champion. She's done so many things in her life, and I'm so excited to chat to her. She's got so many cool stories. Remember how I've been yapping on about this thing called, if you look on my Instagram, you'll see it, these clothes, which is called Zone by Lydia. This is the chick that fucking owns it, man. So I'm super excited to have her on. She's an entrepreneur. She is an Olympic champion, and she's got so many cool stories. And she actually lives in the Laplands over in Europe, and I'm so excited to find out how that is. Lydia, welcome to Tommy Kendi Unfiltered.
Oh, mate, thanks for having me on. And first unfiltered episode. I love it.
You know it. So what's happening? Man, do you know what? The first thing I want to know is, why Laplands? Like, why would you go to Laplands? And I saw a couple of pics on your Instagram of the house you live in. It looks unbelievable. My Lord. You live in the middle of the forest, or not the forest, but middle of nature. You just,
Yeah,
so
pretty much.
cool.
Like, it's remote where we live. It's a little story I can wrap up in maybe a minute, but essentially COVID was the catalyst. We were living on the coast in Lorne, on the coast, Great Ocean Road of Victoria. I was surfing every day, kids in local school there, life sweet. COVID hit 6 months into homeschooling, and we're like, nah, this is no good. This is no good for us. We were, obviously trying to run businesses from home, both of my husband and I. Kids are, homeschooling, not going anywhere. And we thought, what are our options? And so my husband is Finnish. And so we tried to get out of the country on compassionate grounds first. I can't believe it. Like now, like if you think about it now, I couldn't even bloody leave the country. It's like
Crazy.
like so stupid. Because his, parents are getting on a bit, and we thought that was a really good reason, and we hadn't seen them in a year, so we got knocked back, and then
Of course you did.
so stupid, and I mean a lot of that was so many horrible stories that you heard that people couldn't get out for funerals and sicknesses and whatnot, so that was just shit. And then the rules changed, and if you left for 3 months, you could leave the country. So we're like, yeah, brilliant, we're out of here. So we planned on going for 6 months. We thought we've always wanted to, put the kids in a local school in Finland and give them that opportunity and that experience because they're half Finnish. Let's do it now. Finland's open, where are we going to go? So we're skiers, so we thought, let's go and have a proper winter. Like, let's go to Lapland. And I know the place well because, I've trained here, and hubby and I have trained here, and it was kind of like a training base for us. So we rang up a mate at a ski resort called Levy, who he was kind of, high up in, and we said, oh, look, what's Levy like? And he's like, yeah, it's good because we hadn't been there. Yeah, come. And so we're like, okay, we're coming. Brand new primary school had been built and whatnot. So we booked flights. We found a little rental and came to Levy in the middle of January. And I'll never forget the day of sending the kids off to school in pitch darkness at minus
Wow.
30 degrees.
Yeah.
My little one, Alec, was in prep in Australia, and he got sent to daycare because they don't start school until they're 7 here. So he was back with kids in diapers, and it was horrific. Like, he hated it.
Yeah, he would have. Yeah.
But Kai was, going into grade 3, and so look, we then couldn't get back to Australia. So we ended up staying, and everyone was like, don't come home. So we ended up staying. Life's good here. We were skiing all throughout COVID, and and we're so remote. It's just a different world. You've got Northern Lights, you've got a 6 month long winter, like it's a proper winter, proper ski resort, with really great conditions. And so one thing's kind of, led to another. Like our little one's really into skiing now, Kai, and he's really good. So kind of got to give him those opportunities. And schooling is fantastic. It's free and we don't have to make school lunches. So it's just like, oh, it's really good. So we've decided to stay. We ended up buying a house, a little like a holiday kind of villa that we rent out a couple of apartments, and
Yeah,
renovated one that we live in. And so life moves in mysterious ways. And I
man.
told me, 3 years ago that I'd be living in Lapland and, managing a holiday villa. I would have told you to stop smoking whatever you're smoking. Yeah, so
Oh man, it's so.
a
But
bit more
you,
than a minute, but we're here,
but yeah, yeah. But
which is crazy.
so cool. But you live in like full out nature. Like, I mean, I've seen some of the photos on your socials and whatever. But it's actually you get on your doorstep and there's like proper proper nature. Like you've got, is that like a lake in front of your house or something?
Yeah, so that
Man,
freezes in the winter time, so you can ski on it and snowmobile on it and ice skate on it.
do they still have those things? I remember because I was born in Hungary and they had these things at Lake Bolaton where it's those chairs that are on ice. Do they have
Oh yeah,
those there?
where the push things.
Yeah, the push things.
Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah, yeah. That's how all the
That's cool.
grandmas go and do their shopping here in the winter, because all
Oh,
the
that
like
is so
pathways
cool.
are iced up, and so they just like scoot along on these like kick scooters, and
Mm,
they put their handbag on the front, or a child, small
yeah.
child, and kick along. And I've got one. They're
Well,
great. They're rad.
that's so cool. So wait, let me ask you. When it's not even when it's iced over, do you guys ever get in there in winter?
Yeah. Yeah, so it's called
Really?
an Avanto, yes, and it's like proven health benefits, right? So everyone's kind of going crazy about the cold plunge these days, but it's
Mm,
something they've been doing here for I don't know, God knows how long. But one is sauna, and second is a cold plunge or roll in the snow or something cold,
mm,
essentially. So we cut a hole. We've got like these stairs that go down, into like we cut a big hole into the oven door, and you go and dip in and stay there for a bit. It's full on, like it's,
yeah.
could be -20 out and it's, 4 degrees in the water. So it's
What you
hot.
reckon? Surely it'll be colder than 4 degrees.
I don't know. I have to measure it, but I mean, obviously it's not frozen. So it's like frozen like for a meter thick, and then
Yeah,
underneath it's probably around 3 or 4.
three or
But
four. Man,
it's cold, and
it's cold.
sometimes I go like just cold turkey. Like I just go, like I wake up, put my robe on, run down to the shore, jump in, come back, and get back inside, and it's like, oh, you feel so alive,
Oh man.
But I mean, the cold plunge, they're kind of linking it to helping in, depression, skin kind of ailments, all kinds of things like weight
Mm,
loss, arthritis, and,
mm,
joint pains and things like that. So I feel really good from it, which is, the whole point of why I will do it.
mm.
Um, so
Yeah, I don't think there's ever been a time where I've done either a cold shower or cold plunge or an ice bath. Not once have I ever come out of it feeling like shit, ever.
yeah. No, it's invigorating. So we put
Mm,
a hot tub near the lake. So that's kind of like if you're feeling a bit soft,
yeah.
or for our guests, they can, because I mean it gets dark in November, December, Jan is pretty dark all the time
Mm,
here. So
mm.
obviously it's great for the Northern Lights. You can sit in the hot tub and watch the Northern Lights, and
I
but
want to
then
ask about, with Northern Lights, like because I've never, I mean, you see footage and whatever, but when you're actually looking at it from your own eyes, is
amazing
it, is it just amazing?
every time, like. yeah, it's just kind of like a one, like when you see a wonder, and every single time it's different and it's just equally as amazing, and you just stop and you go, far out, look where I am,
Mm.
and what am I seeing right now? Like yeah, this place is magical. You know, it's great in the winter, obviously. There's lots to do. People are always outside. It's active. There's skiing, there's snowboarding, there's ski touring, there's skating. There's so much to do.
Yeah.
But now it's fall, and the colours are all changing, and it's just gorgeous. And I've got into foraging a lot, so I go like I'm mushroom picking heaps. I
Like
know
special mushrooms?
I have some of those, and that's something I've had for a while now, but I'm too scared to do.
Oh, yeah.
I'm
No,
an
no, no.
athlete, and I never took anything, so
Mm.
ooh. But I really want to do mushrooms. Shit.
Yeah, everyone, I do too. I was just having this conversation
Yeah,
earlier
though.
today. It's
Yeah.
it's one of those things where I'm like, it sounds cool, but you'd want to do it with someone that you meet that could actually take you on a proper journey. It's not
Or
something you
just feel
like.
safe. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And I haven't met that person yet where I'm like, you know
Well, come
what?
over. Let's do it.
Yeah, I'd put my whole entire spirit in your hands. Let's fucking
Hot
party.
tub and mushrooms
Yeah.
under the northern lights. That would be epic. No.
Oh, crazy. So wait,
Yeah.
speaking of like wonder and magic and all that type of stuff, like you must look back over your life because you've experienced some pretty magical things. And you don't need to be, I don't know, like a the guru or whatever to look at, even half your life and just go, holy shit, man, like you've done some epic things. So, I mean, let's talk about, what's in terms of being in, being in the Olympics and being and winning gold medals and stuff like that. I mean, what does it actually feel like to one to have that, but two, is the journey more fun than the actual getting there, or how does it actually work?
Journey's hard. Journey's brutal.
And
Journey's, oh,
was the journey for you to get a gold medal, or what was the incentive for you?
yeah. I was probably 6 when I fell in love with the Olympics. And at that point, I wasn't doing any sport. I was active, but kind of didn't know what sport I'd want to do. But I knew I wanted to be an Olympic champion. Like, I didn't want to just go, I wanted to win. So it kind of, sparked a little fire in me from a very young age. And then I found gymnastics. I was really good at that, talented, loved acrobatics and things like that. But, it didn't work out. I didn't make it. So then I, thought I was a failure at age of 15, 16, and my life was over. And as you do, it was very dramatic, but I'm like, I'm never going to love a sport as much as I did this. I'm never
You're a
gonna...
shit human
Yeah,
at
I'm a shit
15.
human. I didn't make it. I suck. No, and I was kind of pretty level head on me too. I was like, I'm not going to make it. I had some injuries and a bunch of other things leading into that, but I still kind of had this little bug in me. I'm like, well, what can I do? Like, there's got to be something that I could. I'm young, so I've got a good skill set. So, is there something that I can transition into? Obviously, not basketball or anything with a ball, but something that I can do. I'm 5'2", Tommy, so
Are
just
you really?
basketball's not my thing.
Yeah. You don't look
Little,
5'2". That's 5'2" is like on the shorter end.
I'm sure. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
So one thing led to another. I was going to try ocean kayaking. I loved surfing at that point, and probably that was something that I probably should have gone into, as, but or well, maybe no. You
Yeah.
can no. It did it anyway. I love surfing now, and it's what I do now to kind of fill the void. That aerial skiing is kind of left, but now I live in Lapland and now I just kind of froth about surfing, so it sucks until I can
So
actually.
good. Yeah, yeah. Where's the closest surf to you?
Well, next weekend, Norway mission to the Arctic Ocean, 10-hour drive, and I'm there, baby. So anyway,
Really?
going back, I got a call after trying a bunch of different sports. I got a call from the Olympic Winter Institute who were trying this new program of seeing if they could recruit ex-gymnasts and teach them how to ski and turn them into aerial skiers. So we'd had some success with aerial skiing with Kirsty Marshall and Jackie Cooper. And so they thought, we don't have a massive pool of skiers in Australia. Let's try and get some acrobats and teach them this sport. And so I was one of two guinea pigs. My mate Liz, who also retired from gym at the same time, and I don't know, the sport looked amazing. They showed us that went in for a meeting and they put the VHS tape in and showed us this kind of highlight reel of these amazing athletes jumping off these jumps and going to great heights. And it just looks so fun and cool and elegant. Of course, they did not show the crash reel. And, the dangers involved. But I guess they just dangled the carrot. They said, and you can go to the Winter Olympics. And I'm like, yep, don't worry, I'm there, baby. Like, let's go. And so kind of dove into it. There was, we were guinea pigs. There was a pilot program. There was very little structure in it. It was kind of the Wild West. And we were an experiment, essentially. So learnt how to ski fairly quickly. We had some amazing kind of world-class coaches that were on this like accelerated program, essentially this journey to becoming skiers so that then we could go launch ourselves and off these jumps. So
wait, just to reiterate, you weren't a skier before then?
No, never. Before 18. So
Crazy, man.
yeah. So we learned how to ski. We were kind of shipped off to Whistler Blackcomb, which was amazing. Like we're in, BC, North America. It's the first time I've ever seen mountains, proper mountains. It was an incredible experience, so much fun. We skied hard, we partied hard, we had a lot of fun doing it. It was 18, 19 years old, like just really great memories. But it was game on kind of thing. Like my first coach was like, look, if you train really hard, you could make it to the 2002 Olympics. And I was like, we were in year 2000, I was like, okay, let's do it. So 18 months later, I was competing at the Olympics.
Man, that is epic.
Made the finals, came 8th place, like pretty crazy given the short lead in. So and then it was kind of away from there, and it was a school of hard knocks because I was going so hard, and it wasn't kind of a really structured program. I was kind of let loose. I had so much.
So what do you mean? What do you mean by you were going so hard? Like what?
I just trained, like I overtrained, like I was doing triple the amount of anyone else would do in terms of volume. I didn't listen to my body at all. I was in pain. I was, because you're taking knocks and you're taking heavy hits and a lot of.
And so is training like doing flips, like you're constantly just going off ramps, and is that training?
Yeah. Yes, and there's summer training and there's winter training. So in summer, you learn like all your tricks off an artificial jump into water, into a pool. So it's called a water ramp, and so that's where you can really kind of get your aerial awareness and on tricks and do the repetition before you then transfer it to snow. So so I just went hard, like I went really hard with volume and didn't really understand at that point that my body was going to have to carry me for the next, 14, 15 years in a sport that is kind of heavy on the body. So I didn't really look after myself properly. There wasn't any kind of medical, team set up or anything to help us deal with any niggles or injuries, and things got out of hand and pretty bad, I was in pain a lot. I had some, like at the Olympics, in my first Olympics, I had I had a shoulder that was ruptured, I tore my cartilage in my shoulder that needed repairing, like a grade 3 slap tear to my shoulder. I was in a lot of pain. And so that meant I couldn't go off the jump straight. My arm with the pressure of the jump was just like, ugh, couldn't hold it up.
I can actually feel that. I don't know
Yeah.
why, but every time I always feel it in my balls when people talk about stuff like that. I'm like, oh, stop.
Yeah.
Always, every
Well,
time.
I felt it mostly in my shoulder.
You
And
did,
then
yeah.
what
Of
happened
course.
was that I started leaning off the jump and going crooked. So I started landing heavy on one side. So much so that I developed a cyst in my back, in my spine, that was pressing on the nerves and making my right leg numb. So I was jumping
Wow.
with stupid stuff that, like crazy amounts of pain actually and discomfort.
So
So
surely
then I
at some point your body just went, nah, you won't be doing that anymore.
Well, yeah, I blew my knee twice. And to come back from the crookedness and the cyst and everything and the shoulder took a lot. And that's when I'm like, okay, I've got to be a bit more careful here. And then I blew my knee about 6 months before the next Olympics when I was looking good. I was already, I was number 2 in the world and, winning World Cups and things like that. And doing these triple somersaults. So I wanted to be a bit of a groundbreaker in the sport. I wanted to compete and do what the men were doing and push the boundaries of the sport and see how far I could go. So I was I wanted an Olympic gold medal. That definitely. I thought that was the measure of success because that's what I was dreaming about all the time as a child and I thought that's what success is. This gold medal around my neck is success, and I don't care after that, like I'm done or whatever. But that was the goal, but as I started, throughout the journey, it started kind of making history and pushing boundaries and proving that women could do the same tricks as the men started to become like almost a more important goal, just hovering under that Olympic gold medal, you know. So yeah, before the 2006 Olympics, I blew my knee. It was a disaster kind of preparation. I had surgery and I had an allograft surgery, which is one where you use a cadaver graft, so not your own tissue, so that I could recover quick and try and make it back in time for the Olympics. So I did. It was very experimental again at the time. No one had done it, so it was scary. It was very, very scary. But everything went well. I was skiing in 8 weeks, which is just, when I think about it now, stupid.
Crazy. Who said you could? Who said you could get back on the skis? Was it you, or was it the actual? Or no
Well,
one?
I
Was
just
it
did
just like,
what I was cleared to do, you know?
yeah.
And if the physios say you're cleared to ski, you're cleared to ski. So you go. And I was scared, but I wanted it, you know. I was determined and I was willing, I guess, to take the risk. So everything went well. I did one World Cup before the Olympic Games and I won it. And I'm like, okay, I'm back kind of where I was. I wasn't doing the triple somersaults. We made the smart call there to go, okay, maybe not. It's not a good idea. Let's just do the double somersaults. But still, that time, they were still good enough to win. So, so went to the Olympics, flew over, my knee blew up like a balloon. I was getting stuck on the stairs. I couldn't even get my circle around on a bike without getting it stuck. And I was jumping off these jumps. It was also very stupid and crazy. But I was there and I was like, well, we're here now, so what can we do? Let's just try and get through it. And miraculously, I was jumping really well. And then, semi-finals. I'd done one jump. You get 2 jumps and then you make the top 12. I did one. I was sitting in second place. Like, beautiful jump. And then as the time got on, my knee was just getting stiffer and stiffer that night and just, wasn't moving very well. And my second jump, just landed gave it a little bit back seat, which normally you can save, but it just boom, kaboom, He was gone in the semi-finals, screamed my little heart out because it was like not the pain, but like, oh my God, it's
I know,
happened.
that's it. You just
Like
knew
he's
that was
gone.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that sucked. That was the lowest probably point of the career. That was
Mm.
shit. And, like, you don't know if you're going to get another chance as an athlete. Like, there's no, sick leave or compensation, or you're all in, and you put everything on the line to try and get that elusive, gold medal. Like, it's a full-on
Mm.
commitment. And it's only kind of now that I realize, I'm like, holy crap,
Yeah.
like, that's a
Yeah.
lot
And
to
have
put yourself.
you, have you, like through that journey, have you ever sort of looked into what it is that actually was driving you? Like what, because I'm so intrigued, like what is it that makes you sit there and go, my body's falling apart, but I've got to do this. Like what's the driver, the real
Vision.
driver?
You
Just the
have to have
vision.
vision. You have to be able to close your eyes at nighttime or during the day and see your future self so vividly, so up close and real that you can almost smell and taste it, that that's the only, and I think it's focus on that vision. Like I only saw one future, and that was her, the one with the gold medal around her neck, and you are all in. It's a huge risk because sometimes it doesn't pay off, right? But even after blowing money out twice, you know, I remember sitting in my undies, the doctors around, and tears everywhere, and leg up, and parents, were there, and that was bad, and they never came to an Olympics after that. And and I knew at that point people were going to start writing me off. 2 knee Ricos, they're not going to think that I have the heart to come back, or maybe fear will get in the way, or maybe I won't rehabilitate fully. You start to feel that, you start to sense that in people, that they're starting to write you off. And I knew to that point that I was doing some things that were wrong because I was up and down in a cycle of injury and setback, and I was good, but I was not as good as what I could be because of this. And I was blaming it on, oh, I'm always injured, and why am I always injured? I work the hardest, and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, right, I need help. That was the first time I realized I need some help here. And so I'd been reading these books. One was called Sports Mind. It's by Jeffrey Hodges. He's a mental training coach out of Queensland. And he does these visualizations as well. And I didn't have the money to hire him, previously.
What are you talking about? You're an Olympic champion, man. You
No,
would
no,
have
no,
been
no, no. Like
billionaire.
when before I was an Olympic
No,
champion.
I'm joking. I'm joking. I'm joking. Yeah.
But up until then, I had some success, so I had some savings and stuff, and that's when I realised, sitting there in my undies and with an ice pack on my knee, that shit, I'm going to need some help here because I can feel, I know people are going to write me off. I don't know what I'm doing wrong, but obviously something, because I'm sitting here with an ice pack on and I don't have a medal around my neck. So what the fuck is it, And so I rang up Jeffrey when I got home, and I'm like, this is what's happening to me. I just, and he's like, let's meet. And I was still on crutches, like when we met. And I sat down, and he's like, look, everything that has happened to you, you have caused. And I'm like, fuck you. Like,
How
you're
good is it when
upset.
someone tells you that? You're like, no, no,
So
no, mate,
fragile.
not in my life. You must be talking about someone else, but it's definitely someone else's fault.
It's definitely can't be just me.
Yeah.
And what about but he's like, everything that has happened to you, you've caused. And I'm like, oh,
It's a big one, isn't it?
this is going to be a journey. So it was great. It was great because I had a year off sport because I wasn't going to rush it. I thought, no, I'm going to have next season off. I'm going to rehab this knee properly. Had another, I had to have a series of surgeries because I had to have, bone grafts taken from my hip, put in my knee because the other grafts are taken out, and, all kinds of fun things. So I committed to kind of having a year off, getting my body right and getting my mind right and recovering, because it was trauma. You're dealing with kind of, it felt like grief, which is silly because it's just an injury, but I think grief shows up in different ways, and it was still traumatic, and for me at the time, it felt like a lost opportunity. Like, I'm never going to get to who I believe, or this person that I can see. Like, I can see her. I know I've got it in me, but I lost that opportunity, and I don't know if I'm going to get it back. So I need to put everything into my mindset and my body to try and get there, to try and give myself the best chance to get there. I don't know if it's going to pay off, but I'm willing to try, and not give up, because you could have easily thought, fuck it, I'm done. Like, I can't do this, like I maybe finish my university degree, get a proper job. That's what my family wanted me to do, because you've got pressures coming from everywhere. Like,
Everywhere.
Everywhere. Like, your family's like, just stop, this is silliness, you don't need this. And my husband was super supportive. Like, he was, he he consoled me by proposing to me. I come back from the surgeon one day when he said, "Oh, you're going to need another surgery," and I was crying, and I was, really, it was a setback, and I was in my trackies, and looked awesome. And then he's dropped to a knee and thought he'd cheer me up by proposing to me.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my God.
Oh,
Yes.
so cute.
So,
What a legend.
yeah, so that was good, because distracted, planning a wedding. That was something I was going to do in that year off. And then it's funny because that's when Body Ice was born too. So I was
Another
having
one, just another company of Lydia's.
So I was having a hard time icing my stupid knee and finding something that would stay cold and stay in place, because I was going from, one doctor's appointment to the physio to the gym 3 times a day, back to home. Like, I was icing in the car, I was icing whenever I could, to get like the swelling down and pain management, and especially after surgery. And, you've got these stupid gel packs that don't work. They're too cold to begin with and not cold enough, 20 minutes later or 10 minutes later. And then how do you strap it on? And P's don't work, and that's just stupid. So I needed a different solution. And so it's actually something I jotted in my journal on the way back from the Olympics when I couldn't sleep because my nightmare kept on playing in my head. So, and it was something that me and my teammates had kind of discussed in the dining hall of the Olympics, because I had a shopping bag of ice on my knee, and I was leaking and slipping everywhere, and I was already in a crap mood. So I threw it down and said someone should make a decent freaking ice pack.
And it ended up being you.
Boom. And then so on my way home, I couldn't sleep because it was just like nightmare on replay, and started jotting down the first concepts of what Body Ice would be. These joint-specific ice packs that stayed cold, and stayed in place. So anyway, that was another distraction, cue distraction too, right? So dove into that, had no idea. I was studying human movement at the time, so I have a very good, idea of what the body does and how it works, and science background, but not a business background. But being a, comfortable risk taker, I was like, yeah, no, let's do it. I've got a good concept for this. I've got a good vision for it. So I'm going to do it.
So can I just ask, sorry to cut in, but I just want to ask, because you've taken so many risks in your life, where it's like that fork in the road and you could go one way or the other, right? Yeah. So when you think back to all these times, many times where you took a risk to go with your own gut feel, with your own, with your own heart, pretty much. What? Because you seem like I listen to you talk, and I'm like, how lucky is she? Like, she literally just goes, yeah, there's a risk, and I'm just going to go for it. I'm like, nah, surely it can't be that easy. But maybe it is. Like, in your mind, what actually happens when you get into that, you get to those forks in the road, and there's obviously a high level of risk usually, and what happens in your mind? Like, what do you do?
Um, it's interesting because now I'm more measured, and with time you become more measured. As an 18-year-old, I was reckless, willing to have a crack without realizing the consequences. But I wised up, and it was all due to Jeffrey Hodges. Like I'll get into that. But I saw it. Some people see risk as risk. What if it, what happens if I fail? What if it doesn't work? I see it as opportunity, or there was a hole in the market and I kind of like I need this and there's a lot of surgeries going on, so I figured someone else needs it. And I think all good ideas come from like solving a problem, right? Like you need to be solving a problem. And so I was solving pain, which is a huge motivator in itself. People want to be with less pain, and I definitely did. I was in a world of pain, and I wanted to have, convenience and to be able to ease my pain quickly and easily, and rather than taking, pharmaceuticals. So I figured there were a lot of people like me. I didn't know anything about business, but I'd also never had at that point a job. So I had no preconceived ideas of what running a business was like. My dad had run his own business, so that was a great kind of example of, yeah, why wouldn't I just work for myself? My dad does. So, I didn't see the risk in that. I didn't know what a 9 to 5 security blanket felt like. I didn't have any of those kind of preconceived ideas that you get with experience, So I just thought I'm solving a problem, that I have the solution. Let's start small and I will figure it out along the way. So I started studying a business course at the same time online, to supplement the areas that I didn't know anything about, especially in the international, because I was kind of, importing from China. And so I went over to China, met with suppliers because no one would make my product in Australia. So I had all these roadblocks in Australia. So I'm like, stuff it, I'm going to go over. So I went over, still on crutches, or no, just off crutches, and met some suppliers, went to a trade fair, and my whole kind of world opened up. And I'm like, wow, this isn't that hard. Like if we just get the designs right, it's going to be okay.
And
So
I love that, how you just like, let's just go and we'll figure it out on the way. Like it's really the key to all type of creation, isn't it?
yeah, and there's adventure in it, and when you're kind of weighing up risk, well, what is the risk? Like, okay, I go over and I don't find a supplier, or I decide it's a flight, it's not like the end of the world.
It
But
is if you're flying up the front of the plane.
yeah, yeah, which I clearly don't and won't and wasn't. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, so like it kind of, what's the worst that can happen? What's the worst that can happen here? Like I make like I don't know, they stuff up the product, comes out pink instead of black. Like if you kind of cross your T's and dot your I's in the sampling process, which mate, I've had some issues there, but not major ones. You can't really, like, there wasn't, well, I didn't know who I was going to sell it to, basically. So I wasn't much of a planner then. I kind of flew by the seat of my pants a little bit. Not, yes, reckless, but willing to have a crack kind of thing. So I'd already ordered the product. It was the product was in the warehouse, and I thought I was going to be kind of pitching this to, athletes and physios and the kind of weekend warrior world. And then I hobbled into my knee surgeon's office with one on. He's like, "What's that?" I'm like, "That's body ice. These are my new ice and heat compressions that stay on and stay in place at the elevator pitch." He's
Yeah.
like, "I'll order 500 of those." I'm like, "Okay, awesome." I basically hobbled into my target market, which was surgeons and hospitals. And so I was a one-man show for kind of years. I had someone packing in the warehouse, and I was managing things on the road. When I went back to sport a year later, I had a business that was already in profit, and selling. It wasn't big, but it was definitely great to have, that extra kind of financial security as an athlete.
Totally. Yeah.
You can't rely on sponsorships. You can't rely on that money coming in. So that's fleeting, but this was real. This was coming in. So it
And
gave me the
you're
opportunity.
helping. You're
Yeah,
being of
well,
service to the community, being of service to
yeah,
people. Like,
yeah.
what a cool story. That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was a long time ago. So that was a great distraction that year. I was productive in that year. Got married, started Body Ice, got it off the ground, and then the real work was with Jeffrey Hodges because
So yeah, tell me more about that. 'Cause so
oh,
if people haven't heard of him, who is this? This guy is basically a sports mental health guru.
you don't even need to be an athlete. Like he's helped so many of people that I've sent to him that one had cancer for God's sake, and she's healthy. And a lot of it was around mindset,
Yeah.
and so he basically changed everything in me. He stripped me down. We peeled back the onion layers, essentially, exposed all of my limiting beliefs at that point, which were many, which was a surprise, and and I kind of grew up thinking, because I saw my dad work his ass off, that working hard is the way to be successful. Working hard means you will be successful. If you just work hard, you will be successful. And I thought that's kind of fair. That's how you do it, isn't it? Got to work hard. But we transform that limiting belief over the course of, that like 6 months of working smarter, not harder. That was probably the main thing. And I became a real list person, whereas I wasn't before. Do you go to the shop? Do you take a list to the supermarket? Yes or no?
No, I just know I don't go when I'm hungry.
Right. So I never used to either. But old dogs can learn new tricks, and
Yeah.
I became a list person, and I became obsessive about the details and my planning. And I used a lot of mental imagery and visualization, like daily.
So let's talk about that, because
Yeah.
the visualization, the mental imagery, all this type of stuff. But I'm so interested in it because, well, obviously I've been in this world for quite a while, and when you work out that there's a whole other world out there that's not the physical, and you can create some cool shit up there, and then it comes down into the fucking physical. It's so cool. But talk to me more about how your journey through that with Jeff, or not even with Jeff, or just yourself, like the
Yeah.
mental imagery, the visualization, like, yeah.
Yeah, it was constant work, and it's, still is. Like all of the same skills still apply. First was learning how to being aware of my thoughts. If you are not aware
Huge.
of your thoughts, how can you change them? So there was a bunch of exercises to do, but a simple one is to just stop every 30 minutes and ask yourself, what have you been thinking about? Don't judge it. Just, what have you been thinking about? Without judgment. and you'll start to kind of pick up and you say, oh, I was thinking about some pretty shitty stuff back there, and then that was some
Yeah.
good stuff, and whatever. And then you've got to then unpack, okay, well, how are these thoughts affecting, your behaviors, and
I've
then
got a on my phone. Every time I look at it, the front screen or whatever, it just this. I just wrote in my notes, and it's this big thing that says, "Where's your frequency?" And so every time I pick up my phone, I just say,
where are
"Where's
you?
your
Yeah,
frequency?" I'm like,
yeah,
"Fuck off, mate. I'm all good."
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. But
Yep.
where are you is a really important question. That question led me to win an Olympic gold medal because if I didn't constantly ask myself that night, where are you, Lyd? Where are you? I'm right here. I'm here. I'm clicking on my ski boots into my bindings. I'm riding up the lift. I'm watching the trees go by. I can see the moon. I am right here, right where I want to be. Great. What are you going to be thinking about now? Like, what are you thinking about? I'm going to hit that next takeoff. I'm going to, stand up nice and strong before the jump. I'm going to see this and that and da da da. Being in the moment, and training yourself to be able to be present despite all of the distractions, crowds, pressure, thoughts, your own thoughts. Oh, if I land this next jump, I'm going to win. Or if I don't, I'm going to lose. Or remember what happened 4 years ago when you blew your knee out on the second jump? Like, which, a journalist brought up 30 minutes before. Like, how do you deflect those distractions? Distraction control is key. It happens in everyday life. What someone has said to you, what you've said to yourself. You've got to be able to pull yourself up and go, hang on a minute, Lyd. How are you speaking to yourself right now? Where's that coming from? Is it serving you? How is it going to help? How can you reframe it to be something a little bit more positive, And so there are so many skills that I pulled out that night in order to win an Olympic gold medal. But staying present and in the moment is the biggest one. And I think that's the biggest key for everybody is to find a slice of time to be present in your day, to check, where am I? What have I been thinking? How is it affecting my behavior and my emotional state? Can I reframe some of these things to make me feel a bit more positive? What do I need to do in order to make this next step as successful as possible? And they are everyday skills. And gosh, that cues into my next business zone, right? Like being in the zone is a magical state of being present and in focus and in flow. And there is not a person in this world that doesn't like that state.
Best feeling ever.
Best feeling ever. It's better than sex. Well,
It is.
it's
Well,
kind of up there,
it
right? Because
depends.
you're
Because,
just like, sorry.
yeah, I
You
get
know,
it.
when you land that jump or you give that speech or you nail that presentation or you finish that piece of artwork that you just feel elated. In sport, you've got the whole adrenaline, obviously, in, big speaking gigs as well, you've got that adrenaline. And even in a podcast, when you've nailed one and when one's like, I can, could have, I don't know if I was feeling it that day, but when a conversation is in flow and when it's going to be resonating with people and when you have a connection with someone, essentially, right? And it's the same in, sporting performances. When you're thinking laser focus, when you, like for me, I know my processes. When your cues are clear, and you hit that takeoff and you're calm and you see the ground and you know exactly where you are and the crowd is blurred and you can't hear anything other than your cues and what you need to do, and then you land that perfect jump and you are fucking floating. Like, you
Oh
know,
my God, I actually felt every part of that. I'm like, wow, I've even got tears coming out my eyes. I'm like, wow, I was fucking there with you. I'm like, I won a gold medal.
yes,
Yeah.
and you can.
Mm.
But, and you just did because, you know, you're in a state of present moment, and, you know, I brought you into kind of my flow state of a past experience, and you experienced it in a physiological level, right? And that's a freaking awesome feeling. And I want to encourage people to, whatever they do, is to try and slice out that time and feel that, because that's when you get clarity. That's when you are, you know, you're nurturing yourself. You're giving yourself space and time, and that's where your best performances come through. But it's a practice skill. You know, it's not something that you wish to happen. Like, oh, I hope I'm in the zone today so that I can nail this presentation or this meeting. Like, it's not. It's a practice. Okay, how am I going to get there? Remember, keep it simple, focus on your cues, maybe some deep breathing. Remember to stay where you are. Remind yourself to stay where you are, here, now, one moment to the next, one step at a time, you know, and you will get there, you know. And it's that constant nurturing voice that we all need to hear from time to time. And we should speak to ourselves in that way. You're
Yeah.
going to be
Yeah.
okay. You know, you're going to get through this from one moment to the next. That's
Yeah.
the zone.
Yeah. That is. I remember I did this corporate wellness day, maybe a year and a half ago or whatever, and it was the biggest one I've done. There was like 80 people there, which was massive for me, and I had to hold space for these guys for the whole day, and these guys were like engineers and whatnot, and I was like, man, how am I going to hold space for an hour, let alone 8 hours for the whole day? And I rocked up. I had my little pedestal and the little mic out of it and whatever. And I walked up to the pedestal, I put my hands on it, and I just looked out, and they're all just looking at me, going, "All right, what do you got for me, Tommy?" Just like
Heard it
full
all.
judgment.
They've heard it all. You
Yeah,
know,
and
like
this
this is
voice
why.
just came in and said, just be here and start talking. And I just started talking, and it was the most epic day ever. It was unbelievable, and it was beautiful, went all to plan.
Yeah.
And you go to plan, but then you move to the side of the plan, you go this year. So
Yeah.
that's all. You've just got to show up, get in the zone, and then if the seed, I always believe, if that my intention or my seed is pure,
Yeah.
of what it's to be of service to myself, to be of service to others, be of service to the world,
Yeah.
then nothing can go wrong.
No, but you've got to know your shit too, right? Like, you're not going to get up there and just go, right, what am I going to talk about? You
Of
know
course.
your content, you know? It's the same as the athlete. Like, up until that moment of winning an Olympic gold medal, I had done everything to plan. You know, I'd set this very detailed plan out. I executed it to a T, because it's hard to get derailed off a good plan. It's really hard. Any kind of setback, you can bring yourself back quickly, but without a plan, and you're just kind of, oh, I hope I win an Olympic gold medal, no chance. No chance. Not for me. Maybe someone else, but not for me. Like, the key was in the details, and the key was I knew what I was doing. I had so much confidence because I had prepared, you know? Sometimes you can wing it, but not on an Olympic final day where you've got 6 seconds to make or break. You can't leave anything to chance. You know, even when people put all that preparation thing, you could get a gust of wind and your chance is blown, you know? So you just can't leave anything to chance, and you need to know your shit, and then you own it. You know, you go there with confidence. I am prepared. I know what I'm doing. I'm here now, and I'm here to serve you, you know? And That's how you roll.
So what's that book? I just read it at I think it's called The Rise of, is it the, no, is it The Rise of Superman or something like that? Where
Oh,
that basically
I haven't read
interviewed, I think like maybe 100 or 150 or however many athletes, like like the Red Bull Extreme athletes or whatever, where,
that.
and the whole book is about getting into the flow zone and
Oh, I've got to read
what
it.
that feels like and how it is and how they get there and yeah, it's very true. You have to know your craft, which is exactly what you're saying, but then you also have to, it takes, I reckon it takes so much courage to stand strong
Mm,
in who you are, in your truth.
yeah, yeah,
Because as you said earlier, it's like there's always so many reasons why not to go for what you believe in. It's so easy to not do it.
and there's so many excuses you could use for not succeeding.
And they're
Yeah,
actually valid excuses.
valid, totally
Yeah.
valid. But which scenario do you want? And I remember it with Jeffrey's like, there's multiple kind of scenarios that could happen here. Choose one that is what you want and go for it. And that also came into play, like, okay, there's multiple things that could happen tonight. I could stuff up this first jump and go home and all the pressure's off and just have a beer. Or you stay with this now. You stay in the moment, which is hard work,
Mm.
but it's going to be who you want to be. And affirmations like play a huge role in those high stake kind of moments, and leading up to that, like, and instilling that belief, like affirmations with mixed, not just writing an affirmation and pinning it up on your wall, but visualizing and feeling it and seeing it in your mind's eye. The subconscious is so powerful. We can accomplish so much in our at a subconscious level that then manifests into reality. I remember doing it with even just kind of within sport, like I'd have a hard day, something technical wasn't working out, or I couldn't train because my knee was sore or whatever. So I would replace it with mental imagery. And I remember, and different techniques, like there's the role play imagery. So someone, I was struggling with a certain aspect. It could be the landing, and so I would find someone best in the world that has an amazing landing, and go, all right, what are they doing? I'd pick apart their video and see in slow motion what they were doing, and then I would do a visualization as them in their mind's eye doing the landing, and then the next day, bang, it carries through. Any little technical, it's so good for little technical fixes like that. It's so good for, finding confidence. There's just, you have to read the Sports Mind book because there's amazing tools and tips and tricks and practical ways you can apply these in your everyday life. You do not have to be an athlete, but it just breaks everything down so simply and effectively, and it gives you some really great strategies and I guess tools for your kit bag so that when you practice them enough, you know which one to pull out when you need it. So if you
Mm.
make an error, for example, there's this technique called the ARIA technique, where it's an acronym. A, you accept the error. All right, it's done. R, you release it, let it go, throw it over your shoulder, or just go, okay, it's done. Like, let's just release it. I imprint what you actually want to, do. So visualize it. Visualize exactly, how you want it to be. And then what the hell is A? R-E-R. A.
Awesome.
Awesomeness. No, it's not that. I can't even think off
Awesome.
the top of my head. Um, Ask yourself to do it again. Ask yourself to do it next time. So Aria, it's a great thing. It's a
Mm.
really, I've used that a lot. And then Alia, which is the same thing, but to L is to love yourself when you do something right, you know? Except when you do something right, we never do that. We're like, oh, I just nailed it. You don't have to be like, woo. But you go, you know what, Lyd? That was really good today. Like, that was awesome. Give yourself a little love for that because you've worked hard to do that. Imprint it. See yourself doing it again, repeating it. See yourself doing it
Yeah.
again.
Yeah.
Ask yourself, hey, do you reckon you could do that again next time? Because that was awesome. You know?
That's awesome. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, it's real.
Cool.
It made me think of something where it's sort of recently happening with me is I've always, ever since I've been a little kid, anything to do with conflict, I like run the other way,
Yeah.
and like just no interest, right? And my fiance, she's a lawyer, so
She
this
likes it.
chick fucking lives in the stuff, and so, and I haven't. It's been this like part of me. I'm like, oh my god, I really want to learn how to exist in conflict. And so the last few days I've had some real wins, just an FYI, and it's part of it is just being present and actually observing myself, observing the conflict itself and also observing her, and then being able to make choices appropriately under the fire, under the heat.
Yeah.
And yeah. So
So
no,
strategy there, be present, and then what's your process? So be present, okay, observe.
observe, be present, but also with
Yeah.
observation, it's not observe, it's observe the obvious.
Yeah.
So I always look at not the hoo-ha stuff. I'm like, just what's happening right here, right now. Observe the obvious. And it's not, and instead of going to defend yourself, which you'd want to do as a person that doesn't like conflict, it's like, no, no,
Yeah.
no, no, no. It's not that. Like, instead of just step in the fire, observe the obvious, and how can I be of service? Whether it's service to myself, to her, or whatever. And that really has worked for me quite a bit. Well, I've had a few really good wins the last few days where, yeah, not just with her, but because when you want to push conflict away, it sort of turns up in all parts of your life.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
gotta you gotta rip the band-aid off. I
yeah,
think we
yeah.
spoke about this before.
But man, that was it was so cool to have you.
Thank you for having me. It's been a great
That was
chat.
so cool. Like so many moments there where I was like, wow, that was. I'm really glad that we connected, and then you decided to come on the Kendi
Oh,
Unfiltered.
yeah. You have to come up for unfiltered version 2 because I only got to 2010, but there's
I know that's the thing. Like, I just reckon, no, no, I reckon I could talk to you for another couple of hours, but I reckon the
version.
listeners, I reckon I'll get you on again because I reckon people just don't like. I don't know, like unless I don't know, maybe they do, maybe they don't. I don't know, but I want to. There's
Let's
so
do
much
it.
gold there,
If
huh?
you like this episode and you want version 2, let us know.
But in the meantime, can you just give us a just because with Zone by Lydia, where you sent me a few
Yes.
clothes and whatnot.
You're wearing a t-shirt and I love
I'm
that
wearing the
color.
t-shirt, so if you're on
That's
YouTube, you can
cool.
see my I'm even wearing the pants, Liz.
I'm wearing the
Even got the
cruise.
pants on.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes.
baby.
So we've got the mashing black ash going on
Oh
at the
yeah,
moment.
yeah, yeah. Love it. And so yeah, I mean, if you're into any type of movement or anything like that, you've got to get these clothes. They're made of hemp, and yeah, epic, epic, epic. And I
Thank you.
really, it's not often that I put stuff because I'm not a massive clothes guy, but as soon as I put these on, I was like, man, these are awesome and practiced in and whatever. It's really, really good stuff. So even on that, like, can you give us a quick backstory of how
Yeah,
that came to, because you got Body Ice. Is
yeah,
Body Ice bodyice.com?
yeah, bodyice.com. So that's
Yep.
kind of
And then you got Zone
more,
by Lydia.
yeah, .com. And that came from what I was talking about before that. I want everyone to experience the zone, you know? So how do we do that? 'cause there's another whole kind of, this is for episode 2, but yoga saved me, especially in the later part of my career where my body started to, struggle a little bit, especially after kids. I went to 2 Olympics with kids. So yoga was saved me in many ways, and it still does today. And it's one thing where I can be present and nurture myself. So Zone was born out of wanting people to find that slice of magic in their daily life, and one of the easiest ways to do that is through yoga and giving yourself that gift, and being present on your mat, letting yourself unpack a day and release whatever's not kind of serving you anymore. So I knew I wanted to do something there, but I wanted to, well, I guess in this part of my life as well, sustainability and climate and, watching my kids grow up in a world that isn't going to be like the one I grew up worries me. And so I wanted to do something and not just bring out another brand and yoga mats and clothes, but only stuff that is from renewable and sustainable materials, and prove that, like, for example, hemp. Like, I discovered hemp and the environmental benefits of the plant, and I'm like, oh my God, I got to use this. What am I going to do? Well, let's make clothes. I've never made clothes in my.
So wait, the only difference between hemp and marijuana plant is that the hemp doesn't have THC, correct?
Yeah, very low. Industrial hemp has very low levels of THC, but in fact, it's an ancient textile. It was the first kind of material used for textiles. So it has an ancient past, and then stupid cotton and synthetic industry came in and did this kind of smear campaign where they said you're going to get high if you wear hemp clothes, and the whole industry was shut down. Jump on zonebylydia.com and you can read like all the history behind hemp and why we use it. We also use
I did.
cork.
It's really cool. But
It's
obviously
really,
listeners, jump on.
really interesting stuff. So we do cork, yoga mats and props and blocks. Everything we do is sustainable, and I just believe that through yoga, and the practice of yoga, you become a better person. Essentially,
It's true.
I know I'm
Yeah.
a better person. And so if we can create and encourage people to become better people, we're going to have a better world. Essentially, it's going to trickle into society, right? So that's what Zone's about. I believe you have a discount code, Tommy. Do you want to share
I
it?
do. The discount code is Tommy15. So if you
Oh,
jump onto
yes. I love
if
it.
you jump onto Zone by Lydia and go to check out all their clothes and all the yoga mats and whatnot. Oh, I love on my yoga mat. What is
Oh, the
what's my
listening to
one? The
country. Yeah, listening
yeah,
to
yeah.
country. Everything we do has a purpose and a story. So the listening to country was a great collab with an Indigenous artist, Ricky Kilday, who I wanted to explore the zone from an Indigenous perspective. What does it mean? And the kind of when what we got out of it was when you're walking out on country and in nature, that's where you feel like you're in the zone and you're in that present moment. And so hence the listening to country yoga mat, which is gorgeous. It's like
I
it's
love the
got a great
shapes of it.
story. Yeah.
The actual
Yeah.
design of it is so cool, and I'm always when I'm doing a handstand or headstand or whatever, like with headstand, I'm always chucking my crown right in the middle of that circle. Yeah.
That's
I'm
the
like,
zone.
all right, come on, baby, let's do this. Yeah.
Yeah.
So no, I'm really really loving it, and not just pissing in your pocket because there's no need to do that. But it is like really cool clothes, comfortable, and the yoga mat. I love how the more you sweat, the grippier it gets. It's very
Yeah,
cool.
cool
Yeah,
like that. It's
yeah,
really,
yeah.
really cool. So I'm glad you love it. And yeah, look, it's still a baby. It's still growing, but it comes from the heart, comes from pure intentions of,
You can tell.
yeah, like, and
Yeah,
that's, I think whether it succeeds or not is, you, you know, that's, you've got to, like, I'm following my heart there, and the intentions are pure. And gosh, it's not easy to compete in, the textiles world, like clothing, like, what am I, crazy? But, it's something that I feel really strong about, that we need to change. We need to stop buying shit. We need to, buy good quality renewable stuff and stop this silly cycle of, needing something new every 2 seconds. I hope you're wearing that t-shirt in 5 years' time,
I will be. Don't worry about that.
I
There'll
want
be
you to
plenty of
be.
yoga sweat on it by then.
Yeah. So, like, it's just, yeah, it's got to start somewhere. And if one person can do it, then big companies should be able to bloody do it, shouldn't they?
Yeah, yeah, 100%. No, it's. I love what you're creating, and yeah, man, yeah, it was such an easy chat, and it was. I just love your vibe, Lydia. You're doing such cool things in the world.
Same with you, mate.
Yeah,
Good
and
chat.
but yeah, I reckon we'll get a version 2 happening because I reckon we've got way more to talk about.
That'd be ace. Yes, I'll bring
Awesome,
some.
man. All right, thanks for coming on, Tommy Kendi Unfiltered, ladies and gentlemen. Put your hands together for Lydia Lassila.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lids.
Thanks for having me, mate.